Welcome to Flowcast, a ministry of the Dominican Sisters of Springfield, Illinois. I'm your host, Jeremiah Washington, and with us today are sisters Judith Pfile, Phyllis, Schenk, and Barbara Blessey. Welcome, sisters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
You're welcome. It's good to be with you today. I'm going to stay out of the way and invite the sisters to share their wisdom, grown from decades of caring for God's people. First, some quick introductions. Sister Judith, or best known as Sister Judy, is well known to folks at St. Joseph's, the Worker Parish in Chatham, Illinois, where she has served since 2006. Do I have that right, Sister Judy?
You do have that right, Jeremiah.
Okay.
And for those who may be watching this, I also want to know I was also known as Sister Donna Marie. So others that might watch it knew me earlier. That was my name given to me when I became a religious, but then I changed to my given name, Sister Judith.
Oh, okay. I never knew that till now. So, wow, that's the more you know. Sister Phyllis has the distinction of being the first non-ordained pastoral leader in a parish in the Diocese of Springfield. In 1986, she was named Pastoral Administrator at St. Mary Parish in St. Marie, Illinois, and has served in pastoral roles almost nonstop ever since. Where are you now, Sister Phyllis?
Right now I'm in Carterville, Holy Spirit Parish in Carterville, Illinois, close to Carbondale.
And right before that, she was in Decatur, or near Decatur at Heliopolis. What was that, Resurrection Parish?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want the Illinois hearers to miss that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that, Sister Barbara Blessey. And on top of that, you are next to be introduced. Sister Barbara Blessey, meanwhile, has extensive experience in high school and college campus ministry and is just starting out as a parish minister at St. Francis Xavier Church in Carbondale, Illinois. Where were you a campus minister, Sister Barbara?
I was campus minister for nearly 10 years at our own school in Chicago Heights, Marian Catholic High School. And that's where I became campus minister for the first time. I started the first campus ministry program there. And then I also spent 5 years in college campus ministry at Siena Heights University in Adrian, Michigan with the Adrian Dominicans.
Welcome to you all. You have much more understanding of pastoral ministry than I do, so I'm going to listen in as you talk together. I'm sure our listeners would love to hear just what pastoral ministry is and how each of you came to that type of ministry. I'd also like to know some of the joys and challenges you face and perhaps hear a story from each of you about your most powerful experiences as you accompany God's people in all the ways you do. How does that sound?
What if I start and just talk about what pastoral ministry means? You know, every parish is required to have two councils, a pastoral council and a finance council. Finance council takes care of the finances of the parish, the nuts and bolts, the furnaces, the parking lots, that kind of thing. But pastoral council takes care of the parish spiritually. The word pastoral means care of the flock. And so pastoral ministry is all about caring for the flock. I had a pastoral council meeting last night, and at the end of our agenda, I always give a report. So my report last night was for them to help me. What does it mean to them that I am a pastoral minister in their parish? And I had to laugh at some of their responses. They said, "You're the one that keeps us all together. If this is care of the flock, you're the herder of the flock." When I've never heard that before, but that was their take. that the pastoral ministry keeps them safe and sound. One of the things that I really liked, the pastoral minister is the one with the positive outlook, maybe because we're connected to Jesus Christ in our ministry, but with a pastoral, with a positive outlook. And one of them said, you are the one that follows through on our suggestions. Pastoral ministry says that everybody has the wisdom and that they need to make suggestions, and we'll be the best we can be when everybody shares their own wisdom.
Pastoral ministry now, like you, Sister Phyllis, are the pastoral leader of the parish, whereas I am pastoral associate in the parish where I work, St. Joseph the Worker in Chatham. And we do have our pastor, Father Joe. And so my position is to assist the pastor in leading the parish, and as you suggested, following with ideas from pastoral council, but also quite a few responsibilities in helping to carry out the pastoral ministry in the parish. Kind of like an assistant.
Right.
But I enjoy it very much. And, you know, I've been there before. I've been pastoral ministry. I started in 1998, part-time, but I also was in education at the time, and I just felt the call to be more involved in pastoral ministry. So I left there, went on to another parish for 6 years as outreach minister, which was also forms of pastoral ministry, and then was invited to a new position in Chatham. It was the first time that they were looking for someone in pastoral ministry. So I've been very happy serving there since 2006. So I'm in my 16th year now.
This is Barbara. I'm also a pastoral associate, as Sister Judy is. So I work with the parish priest. He's the official leader, I guess you would say. And we work together to do whatever is needed in the parish at the moment. And I have to say that it was when I was doing high school and college campus ministry that I learned a lot about involving the people in the work that I was doing and helping them to see that they too had a piece of the truth, but they also had the creative skills and abilities to be a part of what I was about. Sometimes it was just, I was exhausted with, especially in the high school campus ministry, I was running 6 Kairos retreats a year. And if anybody's ever been on one of those, they know there's, tons of details. And one of the things I was doing at the end of every year was I was making a scrapbook of the photos of each of the 6 Kairos retreats and putting them all into the scrapbook for the year. And I have to tell you, I got about 2 or 3 years behind in that. And I thought, this is just nuts. So I asked one of the young people, I said, is there any way that you could help me with this? Here's all the pictures for this year and all the pictures for the next year and so on. And I handed it over to this person, and they came back with the most beautiful scrapbooks. Honestly, they were, decorated and all that. But I would have never been able to do that myself. But I was in need of help, and so I invited them to give of their time and their talent to do it, and they enjoyed it, because they were able to share their creativity. But and it wasn't just in scrapbooking that I allowed the people to be a part of it. The preaching, the prayer service. I would coach people how to be Eucharistic ministers, lectors at Mass, and all of that sort of thing. That was just very life-giving for the folks I was dealing with, and also myself. I especially loved the retreats, the Kairos retreats I had. For each of the retreats, they were male retreats and female retreats. For each of those, I had 6 adults of the same, persuasion, male or female, and also the priests in the area would help us out. So I was the one that got to kind of be the ringleader and pull them together on the team and help them to decide which jobs they were going to do, which talks they were going to give, that sort of thing. And we had a wonderful experience of that. And then we pulled in the teenagers, and some of the teenagers were also the members of the team. So it was very messy, and it took a lot of time to work in a collaborative kind of way. But in the end, it was so full of life and enriching that it's kind of, the ideal, I think, of how to do pastoral ministry wherever you are.
Sister Barbara Blessey, what is a Kairos retreat?
Well, a Kairos retreat was once described to me as a Cadillac of retreats for teenagers, and it truly is. It's a retreat that involves the faculty, staff, and administrative people in a high school setting, a Catholic high school, plus a few of their students who become the leaders of the retreat. So in the end, there's the mixture of adults and teenagers, and we have about 10 people on the team. That word Kairos means, it's a Greek word for the special moment in time when God touches your life.
You also mentioned a catechist. What is a catechist?
A catechist is just another churchy kind of name for a teacher. When you talk about what you are handing over to children or adults even, you're teaching them, and that's a word, the word catechesis is what it is you're teaching, and then the catechist is the one who is teaching it.
Sister Barbara, earlier you were mentioning, and throughout, so many people help you, and they do help each of us in our pastoral ministry. We have many volunteers in the parish, and we could not do it without them. They're all God's people serving each other in the church, and they're just a big part of our ministries also. I, as pastoral associate, I do have a lot of responsibilities. We're a very active parish, but I would say probably two of the most important are ministry of care and ministry of consolation. Ministry of care is visiting the sick in the hospitals, the homebounds, taking them communion, being there to support them and their caregivers. And ministry of consolation is to assist families at the time of a death of their loved one, and to meet with the families, helping them to plan the mass, the liturgies, helping do services at the funeral home for the prayer service, and also at the cemetery for the burials. So those are ones that really do touch my heart. Many other areas I do oversee in the activities that we do at the parish. Another way, as pastoral associate, I help with annulments in helping people who need to, they've been divorced and they want to get back and have their marriages taken care of. So that's another important part and a challenging part, to help them and pray for the wisdom and the Holy Spirit in helping them to get their annulments. So those are some of the ways that I do help.
I find that powerful too, to be able to walk with people through annulment work. Sometimes even spiritual direction, or maybe it's not a formal spiritual direction, but those skills that come from spiritual direction are transferable in other ways. I find RCIA just powerful. Both children's RCIA and adult RCIA.
Can you explain RCIA, Sister Phyllis?
Yes, it's that process that a person goes through who wants to join the faith. So that when they make their commitment, when they're baptized or make a profession at the Easter Vigil, they actually have a sense of what they're committing to. One of my favorite memories was I had two children wanting to join the church, a 6th grader and a 2nd grader. And so after school, their classmates would come and be the team for that children's RCIA. That was just a happy memory.
What do the letters stand for?
Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults. And the same process is used for children. It's still called Rite of Initiation for Adults. Good question, Judy.
I also am involved in an RCIA, and it's a combination of people from our parish who are interested in becoming Catholic, and those people who are connected somehow to the university in town. Southern Illinois University has a Newman Center, and many people come there for church, but we have a partnership with the two. Our pastor is the chaplain also at the Newman Center. So we are able to come together in the RCIA program. And we have quite a lively group this year. We have 9 people that are looking to become full Catholics. And they are just very faithful in their attendance. And no matter what the topic is that we're talking about, they have lots of questions. And it's been quite a joy this year to meet with them. But it's that partnership too, and with regard to the RCIA, that I enjoy as well.
If we are followers of the gospel with our pastoral work, it automatically takes us to the people on the margins, because that's where the gospel leads us. This year yet, we had a young man from a group home who said, "What do I have to do to get baptized?" And so I said, "Lavelle, why do you want to be baptized?" And he said, "Because I want God to be a part of my life." Now, I have never got a better answer than that. Why do you want to be baptized? So God will be a part of my life.
I've had the experience where I am now that it's a joy for me to be serving some of those that I previously taught in education in other parishes through my life. So that's been special. And also it's a joy for inviting and sponsoring some people in our parish to become Dominican associates. So connecting with our Dominican and then bringing them into the parish and help letting them to share what it is to be Dominican also.
You know, Judy, as people share their lives with us, do you sometimes feel like you've lived 100 lives because of the sharing, the deep sharing that they do with us?
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, but that is true. You get to know them so well, and there's confidentiality in it too. When they share, you know, there's things that are personal to them and you hold in your own heart. Now, there's also challenges in pastoral ministry. And as you said, Sister Barbara, pandemic time was hard. You know, I wasn't among the people for a year and a half, and trying to work from home and work from that laptop, it certainly isn't the same. I certainly missed being with the people, and they missed seeing me there. So I felt very welcomed back too when we were able to get together. And as you said, some of our programs haven't fully started again yet, but we are getting back to them. We've had our second stewardship committee meeting now. Pastoral Council is back meeting again. And so those things are good. We have a preschool. We do not have a school. We have a preschool. And so it's nice to see the children every day and give us the life in the parish too of the young ones. And then our large faith formation program for our grade school children. Another challenge has been balancing ministry and home with all the responsibilities that I do really enjoy. It is hard to balance time there and time at home and a little time for relaxation. So those are a few of the challenges of pastoral ministry.
Well, I think there's all those human challenges, you know, when things don't go as you've planned. Or, the opposite of the coin is there's great joy when things do flow just the way you had it in mind. But there's also the challenge of communication and miscommunication. I had an incident just last weekend that just took my breath away because I assumed a lot in this conversation, and I should have been a lot more specific and a lot, but there's a fine line between, I don't know what, treating somebody as you would treat a student, treat an adult as a student. But on the other hand, people really have to know what it is you mean. And I messed up in the communication somehow. And I just didn't know why. But anyway, all of that is a very human thing. It's been, smoothed out. I've seen the person again and we're all good. But it was just, the human thing of goofing up and yet fixing it later.
Sometimes too, Barb, I think, when it's still so new, it's more difficult. As time goes on, you get to know another person's ways, their patterns. Another thing in the parish, you get to know that they're all connected. And when you watch what you say about another person, you get to know relationships as time goes on. Yeah. And that's part of being pastoral.
But what you said, Sister Barbara, being ready each day to be present for whatever the needs are, you never know what's going to come across your desk or meet you or someone else's needs. So you have to be ready to flow with whatever way you're needed that day and each day, each week, each month.
And often it's the telephone or the doorbell that
Right.
sets your day. Right, Barb?
That's correct. Phyllis and I spent one summer with her in St. Marie, and I always wanted to know at the beginning of the day exactly what was going to happen and how we had planned this out and what would we do. And she would say things to me like, well, I don't know. The day hasn't started yet. The phone hasn't rung. The doorbell hasn't rung. It's like, and I was having a hard time living that way. But, you adjust. And now I know what she's talking about. I once entered a ministry, too, that I felt like nothing was happening. Nobody needed me. And she said, the work will come. It'll show up. Don't worry. And sure enough, it did.
We've got a retreat coming up in our parish, and we wanted to do something on discipleship. Well, we've got somebody right in our house that can do a retreat for discipleship. It's wonderful when we can work together. So Barb's going to do a retreat for us in March for discipleship for the whole parish. It's wonderful to be able to do that together.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm just really enjoying accompanying one of our ministers who goes out and ministers to two of the facilities, Hollybrooks and South Park in Chatham, to see that joy and then to share that joy when coming back from helping the people. And the people are so appreciative of the ministry that he gives. And it's just been a real joy for him and for me and for God's people from the parish. When
I took the training to be a procurator advocate for the annulment process, we were told that it's an example of the compassionate Christ reaching out to a person and saying to them, now go on, live life fully. Now that has been very meaningful for me in that wonderful work. An annulment is when a marriage breaks up and it's brought to the church to look at it and to say, it isn't saying it's your fault or your fault, you were to blame. It's not saying that at all. It's saying something essential was missing at the time of the bond that made it impossible for that marriage to work out.
Yes, and even though they have to really search back in their whole life, especially at the time of marriage, and have to go through all of that and look at those details. It is very hard for
Yes.
a person to have to go through that. But in the end, it really is helpful, and it has helped the annulment to be able to go through when they have been able to give those details
Yeah.
that were so hurtful at that time, but
Right.
to become a joy in living out the rest of their life.
And so it helps them to make sense of why it didn't work. It also can bring about healing. A real goal for that process is healing.
I was in education for 28 years. That's a combination of teaching, 14 years of administration. Some of that was overlapping. I was also a grade school librarian for 5 years, so that's included in that education. But after the 28 years, I just felt my heart tug, and I was being called to be involved more with adults and to help them through the parish in pastoral ministry. And I've been very fortunate in my call to pastoral ministry, because my first time I was invited by a priest to come back to a parish that I had formerly been in education and been a principal, but he was a new pastor there and wanted some more pastoral ministry. So it would be part-time school and part-time pastoral work. Well, it got to be much more involvement in school than it was in pastoral work. And I just really felt called to pastoral. So after 2 years, I said that I think I need to move on. And I, again, was fortunate. I moved on to another place where one of our sisters was leaving there. And I had also served there before and talked to the pastor and was able to begin 6 years of pastoral ministry there as an outreach minister. We had a big homeless program. It was called PADS, Public Action to Defend Shelter. And it was started, I think, in the Aurora area, but we also had it in Cary, Illinois. We had about 200 volunteers in that program. We had the homeless on Monday nights overnight and fed them supper, breakfast, and gave them a lunch to take with them. And so that was a big part of my ministry there. But I also helped a big program for ministry of care, going to all the hospitals and facilities in that area. So there were like 30 some ministers that went out to do that. So, and visiting hospitals and so on. So I was there 6 years, and then found out from Sister Corday that Father Franzen, Robert Franzen, was looking for a pastoral person in Chatham. And so I went to talk to Father, and so I've been there now, as I said before, 16 years, and loving every minute of it.
I was teaching religion in the high school at Marion, and I had been teaching for about 3 years or so. And one day the principal sent every teacher in the school out to other schools. And she said, okay, spend the day away with other schools and learn from them, figure out, what they're doing, that would help us back at Marion. So that day I went to another high school and spent lots of time with the religious ed people there, and also the campus ministry people. And it was a huge high school, similar in size to Marian Catholic. And when you think about pulling that like 1,500 kids together for mass, it either causes you to tremble a lot, or you try to figure out a way to do it. And the way this other school was doing it, I thought, oh, wow, I think we could do that at Marion, and I'm just a religion teacher at this point. So after a full day of talking to these people, I found out how we could do prayer services, how we could do mass, how we could do this, that, and the other. And So on my way home that day in the car, I was explaining to the other sisters who'd been in other departments, they weren't with me. And I was just explaining and kind of excited about, how this could be done, how that could be done. And even have that done at Marion, which was such a huge school. And I don't know, they kind of tattled on me when a few weeks later, the principal came to me and said, that school that you went to visit, and I heard you were pretty excited on the way home. And how about you do those things for Marion here? You start the campus ministry program. And it's like, really? So I spent a week or two just thinking about it and asking questions and all that, and finally said yes. And I have to tell you, working with that age group and coordinating prayer services, mass, all of that, the retreats, over a period of 10 years, that was very life-giving and life-draining. It just took all my energy to do all that. But on the other hand, it filled me up with God's presence and kind of a sense that I had done something good in my life because of the way families were touched and individual students were touched by their experiences that I had organized. So it was an exciting time in my life. And then I ended up, as you all know, I was called to leadership for a little while, and I spent 10 years there. And so when I had to find another job and I'm looking around, Sister Phyllis knew about this parish in Carbondale that needed a pastoral associate, or who would be needing one in the near future. And so I talked with the priest, and it turned out that, he was interested, and I had skills that would be appropriate for this kind of position. A long time ago, when I was a very young sister, I had somebody in my life, another sister, who spent time with me and who listened to me very respectfully, loved me unconditionally, loved me in a way that never was judgmental. And it was at that time that I began to see that God could love me. And after that period of time, it was a couple of years, I went out on mission myself, but it was kind of like, I want to be like her when I grow up. I want to be that kind of person for others. I want to be a safe place where people can be in my presence, and somehow then God can work through that interaction with that person to love them and to help them to feel loved. And I hope that's happened over the years, but it's one of those things that draws me, or it has always been in the back of my mind. I've always wanted to be like her when I grow up, so that people in my presence can feel loved and appreciated and safe and not judged, and encouraged in their giftedness.
That's powerful, Barb. For all three of us, we were in education. And then at the end of, or at some point in the year, we would hear from the mother house, are you happy where you're at? Do you need a change? We called it our happiness sheet. One year, they did it differently, and they said, would you be willing to serve in any of these ways? Well, I checked a lot of things. I might have gone to Peru. I checked a lot of things, but I think I might have been the only one that checked work in a parish because that's where I found myself that next year, working in a parish. And then by the end of that first year, the priest saw in me something I didn't see in myself. And he said, I think we should let you be the first leader of a parish without a resident priest. And I said, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then he brought it up again. And I thought, this is the biggest risk of my life. But I said yes. And the whole council asked the diocese if we could do it that way. So this biggest risk in my life has turned out to be my biggest blessing. I have loved pastoral ministry. I have loved, we took a class at CTU, Catholic Theological Union, about friendship in the moral life and how we grow in virtue through friendship. And pastoral ministry for me has been the ideal place to grow in friendship, because as we grow in friendship with one another, as we grow in virtue, we grow in friendship with God. So this greatest risk of my life has turned out to be my greatest blessing.
How is it that you all, separated yourself between, as much work that comes with being a pastoral minister and just, downtime, like at home, or, how did you ease your mind from all that work that's some days jammed in?
As Sister Judy pointed out earlier, it's really a challenge. And I also think it depends on how old you are and where you are in life. When I was younger, like during my Marian Catholic days, I was like a bionic woman in some ways. I would work from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m, and I would do that day after day after day after day. And you look in the mirror and you just look horrible after that, because you're, but there were a lot of details to attend to, and I loved what I was doing, and so I just kept at it. And I wasn't home much. My office was right next to the dining room, so I was home kind of physically, but and it was a different community life there. There were a lot of sisters at the beginning, and so it was a challenge. But now, as I've gotten older, someone once wisely said to me, "Now don't be taking work home. Give it all you've got during the day, and try very, very hard not to bring work home at night, so that you're not working all night long as well."
Jeremiah, one of the ways that I just get away from any of the problems or struggles or busyness of the parish, I have a little garden. And that garden is an outlet for me. I don't have to bring any of my struggles for the day when I'm in the garden. And then I have something to give to the food pantry. What's in my garden is more than I need. And it's such a delight to bring it to the pantry twice a week. That's just makes me happy. I also feel, as Barb, that, as we get older, I can't spend as long in the garden at the same time as I used to. However, this caring for God's earth, this caring for creation, I think there are plans where I will turn my garden over to our children in the PSR class. We have written a grant and we're planning to get a worm farm right next to my garden. We're going to get praying mantises that will help eat the bugs so we don't have to use chemicals. It's a way to just naturally teach our children how to care for God's earth. And then if they can do it as children, maybe it'll carry on into adulthood. Anyway, that gives me energy.
It's a wonderful way, Sister Phyllis, of bringing in about taking care of the earth. Pope Francis, the new encyclical Laudate Si, which he's asking all of the world to take care of the earth.
Great.
I also like nature, and so that nature is really a soothing, relaxing to me. I also love to see deer, so sometimes I go out with another sister friend and we just drive out to an area where there are deer and just enjoy seeing them. But in my younger days and where I used to be, I walked paths through nature preserves and things. And that brings me joy and relaxation.
Everyone, this was Flowcast. Thank you so much for listening in on our conversation that I had today with Sister Judith Pfile, Sister Phyllis Schenk, and Barbara Blessey. Thank you again very much. I hope this was something you all could learn from, learn to unwind, enjoy, and do the things that you love in life. This is Flowcast once again, and stay blessed, everyone.